Stop whatever you're doing right now, because what unfolded in San Antonio 3 days ago wasn't just another basketball game. It was one of the most dramatic takedowns of a narrative the NBA has ever seen. The Spurs controlled 72% of this series. They built double-digit leads in all 5 games. They blew a 29-point advantage in Game 4, the biggest collapse in finals history. Then, in Game 5, they let a 16-point lead slip away on their home floor in front of more than 20,000 fans. And the player responsible? A 6'1" second-round draft pick from New Jersey. 45 points, Finals MVP, NBA champion. The NBA had its chosen star, its heavily promoted future face of the league, its next franchise centerpiece. Then Jalen Brunson showed up and took it all away. And over the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly why Wembanyama came up short. Before this series even began, the basketball world had already decided how the story would end. They had their giant, the 7'4" phenomenon who had just eliminated the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder on their own court. The league believed it had found its next face, and it wasn't exactly subtle about it. On the other side stood Jalen Brunson, a 6'1" second-round draft pick that very few people truly believed in. Becky Hammon, a 3-time WNBA champion, said 4 words that New York fans will never forget. And back in 2022, when Brunson signed, Bill Simmons made a comment that has aged very differently than expected. He's not going to be a come see Brunson score 38 points kind of player.
Jalen Brunson only has 6 at halftime. What the fuck? Whoa, we blew it. Like, he's going to have games like that. He's not going to be a come see Jalen Brunson as he scores 38 against the Wizards. He's not that kind of guy.
9 ESPN analysts picked the Spurs. 9. Not a single one believed Jalen Brunson could win this series. Some of the biggest voices in basketball had already written him off before the first game even tipped off. But here's what every one of them failed to see. Wembanyama didn't lose because he played poorly. He lost because when the pressure reached its highest point, his team couldn't finish the job. When clutch moments arrived, they slipped away. When critical decisions shaped the outcome of the series, inexperience became impossible to ignore. And when the final buzzer sounded on his home floor, a player nearly half his size had simply worked harder and played better. Now let's look at how it all unfolded. The experts had already buried Brunson before the series even started. And on the court, Wembanyama seemed determined to make his presence felt in more ways than just basketball. But this wasn't something new. It was part of a pattern that had been discussed throughout the playoffs. Against Minnesota, Wembanyama was assessed a flagrant 2 foul and ejected after making contact with Naz Reid. The NBA chose not to issue a suspension afterward. Then, against Oklahoma City in Game 7, another physical play involving Isaiah Hartenstein drew attention and sparked debate among fans and analysts. The league reviewed the incidents, but no further action followed. Then came the finals. In Game 2, Wembanyama was involved in another physical sequence with Jose Alvarado that generated controversy. No foul was called on the play. In Game 3, an aggressive collision with Brunson sent him to the floor, creating another heated moment in the series. Wembanyama stood over him afterward, and the sequence quickly became one of the most talked-about clips from the game. Then in Game 5, Brunson rose for a 3-point attempt, and another closeout by Wembanyama led to questions about the landing space. With Wembanyama already carrying flagrant foul points, the play immediately became a major topic of discussion. The officials reviewed the action in real time and allowed play to continue. What made the timing even more interesting was that on the very same day those discussions dominated basketball headlines, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver appeared on national television and offered praise for Victor Wembanyama, saying, "I'm amazed at Victor."
I'm amazed at Victor. Not just his play on the floor, but he's such a curious young man. He's a pleasure to talk to.
Yes.
You know, he's very worldly. I mean, he's got amazing interests off the floor, but he's really dedicated to his craft.
Yes.
And he's got such a bright future ahead of him.
Then came a comment that immediately got the entire basketball world talking. Draymond Green, a player who knows more than most about the line between physical and dirty basketball, gave his opinion on Wembanyama's style of play, and he didn't hold back. Draymond said, "Victor Wembanyama is a European player. They are a bit dirty."
Wembanyama is a European player. They are a bit dirty. He probably should be suspended at some point, or have been already. He's been showing a lot of grace.
Grace. That was the word he used. According to him, the NBA was giving Wembanyama grace, while Jalen Brunson kept taking hard hits and ending up on the floor. Skip Bayless saw it that way from the very beginning. He called Wembanyama the most protected player in basketball. And after Game 5, he finally said out loud what a lot of people had already been thinking.
Don't think Jalen Brunson initiated the Wemby. I do think there's a little brewing bad blood between the shortest man on the floor and the tallest man on the floor.
There was clearly real tension between Wembanyama and Brunson. This series never felt like it was only about basketball. So why did Wembanyama come up short? Here are the reasons many people don't want to say out loud. Because San Antonio has seen this level of success before. 27 years ago, the Spurs became one of the NBA's great dynasties, 5 championships. And at the center of that run stood Tim Duncan. Duncan never relied on controversy. He never needed special treatment. He led through winning. And when his teams built leads, they held on to them, time after time. Now consider the number that should frustrate everyone inside that Spurs locker room. This team controlled most of the series. They spent the majority of the finals playing from ahead. Yet throughout the playoffs, they struggled in clutch situations, and close games at home became a recurring problem. Duncan's Spurs won 5 championships, and they built that success on finishing games when the pressure was highest. But it doesn't stop there. Alongside Duncan was Tony Parker, a Finals MVP who always seemed comfortable when everything was on the line. De'Aaron Fox, expected by many to fill a similar role for this era of Spurs basketball, scored just 7 points in the championship game. 7. Parker built his reputation by delivering on the biggest stages. That's what made the comparison so difficult to ignore. Then there was the coaching factor. Mitch Johnson, the young head coach, watched his team miss 9 straight three-point attempts in the second half without stopping the momentum. Greg Popovich, the most successful coach in franchise history, built his legacy on discipline, adjustments, and controlling critical moments. Johnson simply didn't have that same level of experience, and on the biggest stage of his coaching career, it showed. So that's the story of what Wembanyama and the Spurs couldn't accomplish. Interestingly, Magic Johnson, a 5-time NBA champion, seemed to see something like this coming long before the finals ended. While many people focused on Brunson's size, Magic looked at the situation very differently. And when others doubted Brunson, he wasn't joining in the laughter.
We started laughing.
Yeah.
You know why?
Why?
The man is a winner.
Yes.
He won in high school, won at Villanova. This is the guy who you want to have on your team in those moments, in this situation.
Matt Barnes spent months telling the basketball world that history was working against Brunson. But when championship night finally arrived, every one of those predictions came back to haunt him. After watching Brunson lead his team to a title, Barnes changed his tune completely. His response was simple and direct. Brunson's a monster. I apologize.
Like 3 times before I even said this, that I was wrong about Brunson. Like, Brunson's a fucking monster. So stop tagging me with other people. I apologize. But again, I get it.
Now let's talk about what Brunson actually accomplished. During the final 5 minutes of close games throughout this series, he essentially became the entire Knicks offense. In Game 1, he knocked down a corner 3 with 1:51 remaining to put New York in front. In Game 2, he buried a fadeaway jumper to tie the game, then calmly hit the go-ahead free throw with 9.5 seconds left. In Game 4, he delivered 2 crucial baskets before OG Anunoby's game-winning tip-in. Then, in Game 5, he floated one over Stephon Castle with 1:06 remaining, giving the Knicks a lead they would never give back. Tracy McGrady, one of the most naturally gifted scorers the NBA has ever seen, watched all of it and immediately thought of one player, Kobe Bryant. McGrady explained it this way: "For 3 quarters, you feed Shaq and keep him involved, but once the 4th quarter arrives, everyone knows it's Kobe's time. Someone has to take over. Someone has to finish the job." And for the Knicks, that player was always Jalen Brunson. The ball was going into his hands because everyone trusted him to deliver. Then Mike Breen, the voice of the NBA Finals for more than 2 decades, said something that very few people were willing to say out loud.
Is he as talented as Kobe Bryant? Nope, but I think Kobe Bryant would be the first one, God rest his soul, to say, boy, that's what I'm talking about, and point to Jalen Brunson.
Kobe Bryant's approach was always simple. When the 4th quarter arrived, the ball was in his hands, and he delivered. Throughout this series, that was the difference many people saw between Brunson and Wembanyama. In the biggest moments, Brunson consistently came through. The numbers tell the story. Brunson averaged 32.6 points across 5 games, earned a unanimous Finals MVP, and became just the 4th player in NBA history to score 45 or more points in a Finals-clinching victory, joining Michael Jordan, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bob Pettit. What makes the achievement even more remarkable is everything that happened before it. Brunson reportedly left roughly $113 million on the table so the Knicks would have greater flexibility to build a championship-caliber roster around him. The decision was widely discussed across the league, especially considering what came next. The team won a championship, and Brunson became the face of the franchise. Meanwhile, Mark Cuban, whose Mavericks originally let Brunson leave in free agency, later admitted, "We didn't see JB as what he would become." On championship night, Brunson's father summed up the moment in a way New York fans won't soon forget. "Tell Mark Cuban thank you." The player who passed on a massive payday helped deliver the city's first NBA championship in decades. And now, because of the path he chose, he's positioned to earn far more in the future. The sacrifice that once looked risky suddenly looks brilliant. The contrast between the 2 stars became impossible to ignore. Wembanyama, one of the league's brightest young talents, is expected to secure a massive extension of his own. Both players will be rewarded financially, but when people look back on these finals, they'll remember that only one of them walked away with the championship. When the final buzzer sounded, Brunson didn't sprint toward the cameras. He went straight to his father, Rick Brunson, who spent his NBA career without ever winning a championship ring. As confetti fell around them on an opponent's floor, the two embraced in one of the most emotional moments of the night.
Talk about Jalen Brunson and what he just accomplished. He cemented himself as the greatest Knick ever. Jalen Brunson just cemented himself as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Jalen Brunson just cemented himself as one of the greatest winners in sports.
Magic Johnson didn't do that. Stephen Curry didn't do that. And even after the championship was won, Kendrick Perkins returned with 4 more words that summed up how he felt about the conversation surrounding Brunson. The world still doesn't respect the greatness of Jalen Brunson. Think about that for a moment. A champion, a Finals MVP, the player who helped end a 53-year championship drought. And yet, somehow, there are still people who refuse to give him the level of respect his accomplishments deserve.
This goes to show me that the world still don't respect the greatness of Big Body Brunson. Despite him putting up averaging 32 in the NBA Finals, they don't respect him. And it's a damn shame.
And Wembanyama, the league's chosen star, the player many believed was next in line, when it was over, he walked off the floor without congratulating a single Knicks player. He sat alone behind a black curtain outside the locker room area. Then, as his media session came to an end, he closed it with a message nobody expected. See you all never. 53 years. That's how long New York waited for this moment. And the man who finally delivered it never asked to be crowned. He never needed special treatment. He never needed endless praise. All he needed was the ball in his hands when the fourth quarter arrived and the game was hanging in the balance. That's where champions are made. And that's exactly where Jalen Brunson proved who he was.